Hari Om. Today's lesson we will start with chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Geeta. In the last lesson we have completed chapter 10. Chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Geeta is titled Vishwa Rupa Darshana Yoga. So Vishwa Rupa Darshana. Darshana means the worship or the vision of the Lord, Rupa, the form of the Lord. In what form? Vishwa. Vishwa means the entire creation. So at this level, the devotee the Lord explains to the devotee how to see the world, the entire world, as nothing but the Lord. So the vision of the Lord as the entire creation. Now, what was the difference with chapter 10 and chapter 11? In chapter 10, which is called Vibhuti Yoga, the Lord said that I am in this part of creation, I am in that part of creation. He gave us a long list of objects and things in which He appears in this creation. So in summary, chapter 10 was learning to see one in all. That is chapter 10. What is chapter 11? Chapter 11 is having that vision to see all in one. That is the difference. So the world doesn't change. See, it's the vision that changes. The world remains the same. Everything in the world remains as it is. All the objects, name, people, places remain as it is. What is required is the change of the inner vision of the devotee. The devotee has to go through a process to change the inner vision. What is that process? The first process is to remove the dirt from our minds. That is, the mind therefore has got to be programmed or conditioned. Now, how is this possible? First of all, we have to understand the three problems or the three situations of the mind. The first problem of the mind is called as malam or dirt. There is dirt in the mind. What is the dirt? The dirt is ego, greed, anger, lust, jealousy, envy, etc. So this dirt has got to be removed. The second problem with the mind is what is called as the monkey mind, the mind that runs all over the place. And so this mind, which is running all over the place, has got to be has got to be brought into focus to fix our mind on a single object. So that is the second problem of the mind, which is called vikshepa. It likes to run about here and there. And the third problem of the mind is called ignorance. Knowledge is jnanam, ignorance is called ajnanam. That is ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the scriptures. So the Bhagavad Gita addresses all these three problems of the mind. First, how do we remove the dirt from our mind? All the ego, pride, anger, etc. The process is explained in the first 6 chapters of the Gita, where the emphasis is on karma yoga, selfless action. Performing all your duties and responsibilities with a surrender or offering everything to the Lord. That is karma yoga. So the ego is removed, greed, anger, pride, everything is removed. The mind is cleansed of all the dirt or the impurities. The second conflict, I'll come back to the second conflict. We'll take the third conflict first. The third conflict is ignorance or ajnanam. That is remedied by the final 6 chapters of the Gita from chapters 13 to 18 that deal with knowledge of the self. So that ignorance of who we are, that is removed. Now we come to the other problem of the mind, which is called vikshepa, the monkey mind, the fluctuating mind, the restless mind. How do we remove this. So this is where the middle section of the Gita, chapters 7 to 12, deal with the sadhana or the practice of upasana. Upasanas go two words, upa plus asana. Upa means near, asana means sit. So what it means is basically all the prayers, all the rituals we do, mantras we chant. The purpose is to make the mind single pointed. The mind which is running all over the place. We listen to spiritual lectures, we listen to stories of the Lord, we hear bhajans. All this is to bring our mind to focus it on the Lord. So once these three problems of the mind are addressed, dirt is removed, mind is focused, knowledge is in the mind, the devotee undergoes an inner transformation and he sees the world, the same world. The world doesn't change, but now he sees the presence of the Lord everywhere in everything. That is called Vishwarupa Darshanam. He has a vision or the darshanam of the rupam, the form of the Lord. In what form? Vishwa, in the whole world itself. Everywhere he looks, everything he sees, every episode in his life, he only sees the presence of the Lord. A good example to think of this is, first a person, let's look at ornaments and gold. First, I will say, when I have limited knowledge, I will say that gold is in the ring, gold is in the bangle, gold is in the bracelet. But once I come to a higher level of understanding, I understand that bangle is nothing but gold appearing in a particular form. Bracelet is nothing but gold appearing in a particular form. Necklace is nothing but gold appearing in a particular form. That gold which appears in different forms, in essential, it is only gold, but we give it different names because of nama rupa, because of the name and the form that we see it in. So in the same way, the world has come from God, but because of the different shape, size, color, etc., we give it different names. But actually the world is nothing but the God, the Lord appearing in different ways. So this is Vishwarupa Darshanam. With this understanding now, let us dwell into chapter 11, verse number 1. Now, in the first few verses, there is an introduction about what has been covered so far. Arjuna is telling the Lord or saying to the Lord, this is what I have learned, what you have taught me. So he summarizes actually in the very first verse that the teachings that have been given to Arjuna, he is summarizing what he has understood. One of the very essential teachings was from the very beginning in chapter 2 was Jiva Swarupa, which is the nature of the individual soul, the individual Jiva. So in chapter 2 itself, the Lord started speaking about this Jiva. And if especially we refer to chapter 2 verse 22, where the essential nature of the individual was explained as not the physical body, which is only a temporary covering, but the very essence that enlivens this physical body. That was the essence of the teachings of chapter 2. So this is what now Arjuna is saying, that what I've heard so far, this is what I've understood. So Arjuna says, Vachaha in verse number 1. The word Vachaha means, O Lord, the words of wisdom that you have spoken to me, all the knowledge that you've given me up to now, I look upon it as Madhuna Grahaya. Madhuna Grahaya means you have blessed me with your words. So I'm very fortunate that you have blessed me with your words. And in fact, Arjuna had asked the Lord of for many things, and everything the Lord had patiently explained to Arjuna, and he is very grateful for this. And these words Arjuna wants to say are not just ordinary words, they are paramam. The word he uses in this verse number 1 of chapter 11. Paramam means they are supreme words. Your words are not, I don't just take it lightly, they are not just ordinary words. I understand your words to be the most sacred, the most supreme words, paramam. And at the same time, I consider your teachings that you have given me as guhyam, the greatest secret, which is not, it's a secret because for two reasons. Number one, it is not available to everybody. And why is it not available to everybody? Because people are just, the majority of people are not interested or not receptive to these teachings. So Arjuna understands that he has received the most highest, the most subtle teachings of the Lord. And what do they deal with? Adhyatma samnitam. What is the nature of these teachings? They deal with Adhyatma. Adhyatma, that means the very nature of the soul, the most profound teachings which deal with the nature of the soul, Adhyatma. In fact, in chapter 10, the previous chapter that we covered in verse 32, Krishna said, among all knowledges, the most supreme knowledge is Adhyatma Vidya, the knowledge of the self. And therefore, Arjuna is very grateful to the Lord that he has received these supreme teachings and teachings which reveal the self. And as a result, Arjuna declares to the Lord, Mama Moha, my delusion. So we must understand that the very first chapter of the Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna falls into a state of delusion. He is in a state of confusion. He is in a state of sorrow. He is unable to think clearly. So he says, because of your teaching, that delusion has been removed. In fact, if you recall in the very important verse in chapter 2, verse 7, that is considered one of the beautiful prayer verse in which Arjuna surrenders totally to the Lord. Chapter 2, verse 7. Karpanya dosho pahata subhava prajamitam dharma samudacheta yakshreisha nishchitan bruhitan me shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapanam. Arjuna declared to Krishna, dharma samudachetasa. My mind, Chetasa, my mind is in a state of sammoha, in a state of confusion. Dharma samuda is in a state of deep delusion. He was confused about his duty because one duty as a soldier was to kill the Kaurava army, which consisted of Bhima and Drona. But at the same time, his confusion also was that as Dronacharya is my guru, how can I kill him? As Bhishma Pita is my elderly senior, how can I kill him? So there was some confusion. Now, what about our confusion? Generally, most devotees or most of us have confusion at two levels, moha. Moha at the initial level is called dharma, adharma moha. The confusion, the moha, or the conflict between dharma, what is right, and adharma, what is wrong. It is ethical conflict. Many times we want to do something, but we are confused. What is the right thing to do? Is this right or is that right? So there is that confusion at the initial stage called dharma, adharma. And at the higher level, the more subtle level, there is confusion of atma, anatma, moha. Atma is the soul. Anatma is everything else except the soul. That means the body, the mind, etc. So we are a composition of Atma and Anatma. Atma is consciousness, Anatma is matter. Body is Anatma. So there is the initial confusion. So what is the purpose of the teachings of the Gita was to remove moha. Now, that's why it's a very unique Shastra, because it removes our delusion and we are able to think clearly. That knowledge is given, it removes delusion. Once delusion is removed, we can apply this knowledge to think clearly, and that will guide our lives in the right way. At the end of chapter 18, at the end of the Gita, chapter 18, verse 72, Krishna asks Arjuna the very critical question: have you heard my teachings with single-minded devotion? Then he asks Arjuna, has your sammoha, your delusion, born out of ajnana, born out of ignorance? So our delusion exists because of our ignorance. Once knowledge is applied, ignorance is removed, delusion is removed. And this is what Krishna wanted to know. That have you heard my teachings diligently and concentrated on my teachings? Has your delusion been removed? Then he instructs Arjuna, now you do as you wish, because I have given you the teachings, now you have to make a decision. So Arjuna is appreciative of the fact that the Lord has given him these very high teachings, these very supreme teachings, and as a result, his delusion has been removed. And actually, it is Arjuna who asked for this in this chapter 2, verse 7. He surrendered to Krishna. He did not ask for money, he did not ask for fame, he did not ask for wealth. All he asked Krishna was, remove my delusion. That's it. Verse number 2 of chapter 11. Now, Arjuna's reverence for Lord is increasing as he listens to Krishna's teachings and gets enlightenment. His reverence for Krishna keeps on increasing. So he now addresses Krishna as, in verse number 2, as Kamala Patraksha. So there are three words here: Kamala, Patra, Aksha. Aksha means eyes, Patra is petal, and Kamala is the lotus. So what Arjuna is saying, your eyes, O Lord, are like the petals of the lotus. In fact, in Vishnu Sahasranama also, Bhishma praises the Lord. He says, to adore the lotus-eyed one, always with hymns of praise, recited with devotion, I consider this to be superior to all other forms of dharma. And in that Vishnu Sahasranama, where Bhishma Pita recites the 1,000 names of the Lord. So that is one way to overcome our fears, our anxiety, etc. And we do this at the ashram once a year on the 31st of December of every year, where with every name of the Lord we recite, we offer a flower or a leaf. So Arjuna says, O Lord, who is so beautiful with eyes like the lotus petal, not lotus leaf, but lotus petals, which are long and red at the tips. Thus he is saluting the Lord with his beautiful lotus petal eyes. And he also addresses the Lord. He says, you are the Bhutanam of all the beings of this entire creation, Tvattaha of thee. You are Bhava Pyayau. You are the very origin, and at the same time you are the very dissolution. So you are from, this whole creation has come from you, and at the time of dissolution everything goes back into you. So you are the origin and dissolution of this entire creation. The word Bhava Pyayau, there are two words. Bhava means Shrishti or the creator, and Apyayau means Pralaya or the destroyer. Bhutana means all things moving and stationary, and Tvattaha means from you alone everything has come, and to you itself everything will go back into that dissolution form. So, just like an example, we can think of all the waves have risen out of the ocean, and in the end, they will merge back with the ocean. In reality, there are no waves separate from the ocean. So, uh, waves are actually part and parcel and not different, but because they take a particular shape for a particular time, we call them waves. But in reality, waves are nothing but ocean appearing in a different form. So, the Arjuna carries on saying in verse number 2, he says, "Thus I have heard and understood from you what? Vistarasaha. All your teachings, I appreciate they are Vistarasaha. They have been very elaborate, very much in depth." So he is glorifying Krishna as a very patient teacher who is given very detailed teachings. So there is no confusion, absolutely no confusion in Krishna's teachings. And what you call Arjuna says that Maya Srutau, I have heard these teachings which you have given in very much in detail. And he says, as a result of your teachings, your detailed teachings, so what you call, I have understood I've understood everything very clearly. I've understood everything. My delusion is removed, and therefore, what you call, these are Mahatmyam. Mahatmyam means in a very exalted state. So Arjuna is very appreciative of Krishna's teachings. He's thanking the Lord, and he carries on in the next verse also by also glorifying the Lord in verse number 3. Now, in verse number 3, he addresses Krishna in two different words, two different names. One is Parameshwara and one is Purushottama. Parameshwara has got two words, Param, Ishvara. So Param means supreme, Isha means the ruler, master, and Vara means the very best. So one name of the Lord is Parameshwara, which is the very best, the very supreme ruler. Okay, and there is a whole Upanishad among the 108 Upanishads. There is an Upanishad called the Isavasyam Upanishad, which starts with the word, with the first line, Isavasyam idam sarvam. He is the ruler and master of this whole world, idam sarvam, this whole creation. So, Isavasyam. Parameshwara is one word he addresses Krishna as. The second form of address that Arjuna uses for Krishna is Purushottama. That is Purusha Uttama. Uttama means the best or the most supreme. Purusha means person. So the Lord is Purusha Uttama, the most supreme person. In fact, chapter 15 of the Gita itself is titled Purushottama Yoga, the supreme being, the supreme person. Now, so what does this mean? Two different names are used. What we call Parameshwara and Purushottama. So one of the names of Lord Vishnu is Purushottama. So Purushottama refers to the Lord as Vishnu. And Parameshwara normally we use for Lord Shiva. So what he's saying is that basically you are Shiva, you are also Vishnu. That is what he is seeing now in Krishna also, that you are both Shiva and you are Vishnu. So Arjuna says now, Evam etat, so it is, Tvam athaha, as you speak, whatever you're teaching me, whatever you're speaking to me, I've understood. Whatever you've declared, the entire, about everything, about the world, the cause, the effect, about Atman, everything I have understood. That whatever you imparting to me is Atmanam. That is not that you are imparting whatever you speak from yourself. You are speaking about the description about yourself, about the very origin, about who is Lord, who is God. So Arjuna has listened to the glories of the Lord. He has listened to the Lord identifying of all his glories in this creation, wherever the Lord is present. And Arjuna says, I now understand that you are speaking to me and describing to me about all your glories. So he says, now what is Arjuna's request? Now he puts in the request. Upon hearing all your glories, Arjuna now has a request. He says, Ichchami, I wish to drashtum. Drashtum means to see, or basically to experience, Aishwaram Rupam. Rupam, your form, which is Aishwaram, which is divine, which means to see you. I want to now see you, your real form, okay? Which is basically what Arjuna is asking, is to see the Lord as the entire world. So this is now what Arjuna has put forward his request, and what we call, this is what the whole chapter 11 is about, that the Lord will now answer Arjuna's request. So that brings us to verse number 4. Now Arjuna has put forward his request, but yet he says, Manyate, O Lord, if you think it is Shakyam, it is possible. So I am putting the request, but Arjuna is very humble. So his humility is showing here. He says, O Lord, I want to have your vision, but Manyate, if you think that it is possible, if you think that I am worthy to see this, to have this divine vision of you. Now what basically is Arjuna asking? As I said in the earlier part of this video, the world is not going to change. What is going to change is the inner transformation. So that dirt from the mind, that focus of the mind, that ignorance of the mind has got to be removed. So this is what, in short, this is what Arjuna is asking. He understands that his mind might not be ready. It still has the dirt. It still is not focused. It is not single-minded. He doesn't have total knowledge yet. So what he's asking for the Lord is to bless him, that all these impurities of the mind can be removed, so he can see the entire world as divine itself. So therefore, he addresses the Lord as Yogeshwara, the Lord of Yoga, meaning that you have all the miraculous powers. You are capable of anything. You are capable of answering all your devotees' requests. So he says, if you think it is possible, then please darshaya, show to me Atmanam, yourself, meaning show me, or show yourself as, I want to see the vision of you. What is your real self? Okay. So what Arjuna is asking is basically is remove the dirt from my mind, remove the obstacles from my mind, that I can see you everywhere. And he addresses the Lord as Prabhu. Prabhu means the Lord and Master of all. So this is what Arjuna has put forward his request, and we will see in the next verses, in the next lesson, how the Lord answers Arjuna's request. Hari Om Tat Sat.